Well, good to see you, everyone. Welcome back to Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. It is the first day of spring. Thank you for taking a break from your brackets to check in and catch up with Maurice Jones-Drew and DeMarco Farr.
Is it the first day of spring? I didn't know.
That's what my TK student
I have
said,
no idea what time of year it is.
Blame
I know
my
it's free
5-year-old
agency,
if it's
though.
not.
Yeah.
How are you guys?
I just
Good.
found out March Madness was going on, so I'll let you know where my head's been.
Wow. Good
All
to
over the
see you
place.
guys. Yeah, man. It's so happy to be back. It's fun. It's great. Glad Nine's back in the building. Yes.
I loved you on Good Morning Football.
Fun.
Right?
So much fun.
That was cool.
I was getting dressed right in front of his locker every single day. Absolutely.
No, you had a great story, too, about 75, which is awesome. Great storytelling.
Yeah.
That was awesome watching
How
that.
were those mornings, though? Those
Kinda
early
harsh,
alarms?
Kind of
Yeah.
harsh, but fun. You get used to it, though. Yeah. The car ride in, they sent me a car to pick me up.
Oh,
Yeah, I got
they
used to
treated
that
you
real
nice.
quick. Oh, big
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I missed those rides.
You know, this is all just a ruse. We're not really doing a show today. We've all just gathered to celebrate the 40th birthday of Maurice Jones-Drew.
Oh, my God. Look at you.
Yes, thank you.
Happy birthday, man.
Welcome to the club, bud.
Wow.
Hey, back was hurting yesterday.
Yeah.
Not yet. You still got, what, a
Yeah,
few more
I
days?
got a couple more days, but it's already feeling like I'm 40. You wake up and like, what happened? Why does my toe hurt? But then it hurts here. It's just all the stuff.
Get ready to sprain a neck putting on a belt. See? Strange things happen.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Any plans that you can share with us? Clearly, we weren't invited to whatever they were.
No plans yet. I am taking the family to China this summer, so that's the big plan.
Nice.
So I'll just celebrate there, I guess.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Big
sir.
4-0.
Yeah, I made
Yes,
it.
you made it. There you go.
Another
You're officially old.
milestone of sorts. DeMarco clearly predates us, and we love his history with this organization, but the start of year 10, if you want to call it that.
Wow.
For Maurice, for me, for the Rams back
Weird.
in
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
Weird. It's
Weird. Is it weird?
Because it's gone fast, but it hasn't gone fast.
You know-
it's been 10 years, but it doesn't seem like 10.
It's so funny. I remember our first year being in New York and us going to the bar to watch the college games. That felt like yesterday, but it was 10 years ago. How do those things just pop up? Oh, those are good moments.
Yeah, are you going to finish that story in New
No,
York?
that's what I said.
I didn't think so.
That's why I stopped it there and I just left it at that.
I don't remember that bus ride to the Meadowlands fondly that next day personally. But, all right, while we're reminiscing, before we get to free agency, before we get to our updated hopes and expectations for the draft, we're also going to talk a little bit about the lay of the land in the NFC West. We got to say farewell to Cooper Kupp and just kind of revisit some of what was, I think, a great chapter in Rams history that unfortunately ends here this offseason. You want to start with your reactions? I know there's some water under the bridge, but when you kind of realized that he was no longer going to be a Ram and when you found out he would be a Seahawk, big picture thoughts?
That's what I meant by weird. It's been 10 years, and, coming this September, it'll be the first time without Cooper Kupp, and that's going to be strange. I guess not the first time, but it's going to be weird to not have him out there. And that was the toughest thing when we got the rundown for what we were about to do. Your favorite Cooper Kupp moment? I mean, my God. How do you get beyond the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Super Bowl's awesome.
Or which era are we talking about? The Goff era or the Stafford era? Because he was pretty dominant with both guys. But it seemed like when 9 got here, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, they owned that front right pylon.
Yes.
That was their thing. But there's so many. Some when he catches it, some when he's just blocking, some when he's getting guys lined up. There's so many Cooper Kupp memories. It's just going to be weird not to see him in a Rams uniform.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of this business, right? And that's the one thing that you hate because you've seen a player grow in front of you. You've seen a player go from a third-round pick to a leader of a team, a captain of a team, to a Super Bowl champion. The one play that that hits me is when he was playing the Saints and he caught like a option route and made a move, and I was like, oh man, he got some juice. And JB was like, why don't you think he has juice? I was like, well, JB, you know why I don't think he has juice, but we
Are you
can't
talking
say
about
that.
the Marshawn Lattimore stiff arm?
Yes, when he shook about 4 or 5 guys.
That was number 2 on my list.
There you go. It was the energy that he brought. And then I'll say the last one for me was the one where he was out of character. You always talk about Cooper Kupp getting out of character. If you remember in the it was either the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship
I know where
game,
you're going. That's number 3 on my list.
where he gets up and he's like, ah!
He roared.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
He
That
roared
was
in celebration.
unbelievable. Those are the two things that hit me when I think of Cooper Kupp.
Because he scored a couple of touchdowns in that game, and that was special. He scored 22 touchdowns that year, I think, and never did anything except hand the football to the official.
A lot of ball.
But when he caught that 3rd down and 3 and brought the Rams into what proved to be game-winning field goal range, he knew, and vicariously we knew, where that was heading. man, that gives me chills just thinking about it.
Big time. Yes.
You know what number 1 on my list was, which is crazy.
Love of the game?
No, but that was right up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Although that would fit the theme.
What's the love of the game? What's that?
Tampa.
The Tampa
route.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because my theme was none of them were touchdowns, which is crazy. None of my favorite memories, as I try to get past like the Super Bowl MVP deal, were touchdown catches. And the one that he dropped as a rookie in the Coliseum against the Seahawks,
Yes.
I think was a defining moment for him and for the Sean McVay era and the Rams that came to pass that year and beyond. Don't you think?
That was at the goalpost, right?
Straight up, right?
Yeah, right up the seat.
And
Yeah,
it was like, okay, if he can withstand that, if he can spin that around, if the Rams can not like let that moment define their first Sean McVay year, then a lot of good things are going to happen in this chapter.
Remember that game against Minnesota in the Coliseum where the Vikings were
The
trying to
perfect
cover?
game.
Yeah, but they were trying to cover like Cooper Kupp with linebackers.
Yeah,
Like-
hold on, relax. The
Yeah.
linebacker went to UCLA.
I'm just saying.
It shouldn't have been that.
I
but
get it. Your
Anthony
adherence to Tampa too, but it's clearly
Yeah.
not working. But yeah, just so many memories. Yes, big time.
And the rotating cast of characters around him. Like we're going to talk later in this show about the latest edition of what 11 personnel might look like for the 2025 Rams. But think of the running mates that he had and that he was kind of the nucleus that made it all work.
I mean, I just remember the way Robert Woods played. Sammy Watkins we talked about. Like there was so many Brandon Cooks. There were so many guys that came in and played a certain role in this offense, but the one consistent was third and Kupp.
No doubt.
That was it.
They come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they go.
I'll never forget that first training camp too, and we won't mention who it was that kind of split out with them. But seeing a rookie in his first summer make an adjustment for a teammate at the line of scrimmage, you can understand why McVay and company quickly decided, okay, this is someone we have to build around, and sooner rather than later. As a Seahawk,
And I hope he doesn't turn into Steve Largent up there because
He
he
will.
might.
He will.
Because
Well, that's-
you've given him everything he needed. You're doubting him again. Remember what he was like in high school when every Pac-10 school or Pac-12 school passed on him
Yeah.
because they didn't think he could play at the next level? What did he do to every Pac-12 team he played?
Destroyed him.
Destroyed him. So you've given him what he wanted, and I hope he doesn't turn into Largent.
all right,
'Cause
so
he
you're
might.
saying underestimating
Yes.
Cooper Kupp is kind of the quintessential ingredient in what he's become as
Of
a
course,
professional football
yes.
player?
Well, I think if you look at what they're doing up there too, it fits, right? It's going to be a very similar system.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you're like one of the few people who's used those words so far with
That it
respect
fits?
to the Seattle Seahawks.
It's good for
offseason.
Sam Darnold to have that guy up there. Yeah.
Oh, I think a lot of people are criticizing that quarterback receiver.
From what they had beforehand.
Correct. And,
Well-
and in isolation, I can justify just about every choice they've made.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the wild card that they have up their sleeve right now is clearly Kubiak and Kupp. And,
Yeah.
they have a vision. I
You-
just don't know what that vision
I've
is.
talked to a lot of their coaches up there. I know what that vision is. The vision is going to be they won 10 games last year and didn't make the playoffs because they couldn't run the football. They couldn't control the line of scrimmage. Their whole goal this year in Seattle is to control the line of scrimmage and take shots down the field. I personally thought Stephon Diggs was going to go there, right?
Wow.
Because again, Kubiak was in Minnesota, same offense, similar quarterback to Case Keenum and kind of what they did there. But Cooper Kupp going there now with JSN and who else did they?
Are you moving him out wide?
I think he's
Wherever
going
I
to
can
play
get him
out
the
wide. I
ball.
think he's
Yeah.
going to play out wide in their 21 packages.
Yes.
But they're going to be a 21 team. They're not going to be a 11 team. They'll be a 21 team. Then they'll move to 11. And that's when you're going to see the option routes. But he's going to be an outside guy running those deep ends. They love deep ends, right? And that's what you're going to see a lot of those ones that he caught early in Jared's career.
What do you think of Seahawks Rams at SoFi Week 1 as an opener?
Yes.
It has to be.
Yes.
Has to
Standing O for the man, too. Yes.
Yeah, really?
Show your appreciation. Absolutely. Show your appreciation.
Yes.
Standing O and then get after him. Because that's
love
what
you.
he's going to do.
Love you and hug you. I don't know about standing O.
Schedule release is for a show somewhere down the line in the
No
future after the draft here on Between the Horns. This one is about free agency mostly. And I thought it would make sense if we kind of just continued the chronology, right? Because I think there's a story to be told and woven through, how many weeks has it been since we got together? 6 or so?
It's been a minute. Yeah.
Whatever it's been. And it all starts with what I think of as like the February flow chart, right? Because I've said this before on this show and others. Every offseason begins with the question, do you have the quarterback with whom you can win a Super Bowl? And then yes and no off that tree lead to different decision points. And I think every season since February of 2018, like after the first
much.
McVay off year, every offseason for us, that answer has been yes. And
Pretty
it
much.
continues with another go round with Matthew Stafford.
I think it was great. I think it was smart. I'm glad both sides came to their senses and ended this thing quickly. Never thought he would leave the building, but you never know. It's the business of football. The benefit is, right, you have a Super Bowl caliber quarterback coming back. You have your leader coming back. Also, you can hit the ground running come OTAs and mini camps and your weight training program. You don't have to introduce new. You don't have to download a new offense, get people used to everyone. He knows everyone.
Right.
Having Stafford back in the building, keeping him in the fold, I thought was huge. Your first game could almost act as game 20 from last season. Pick up right where you left off from Philadelphia. You were that close. Now take it to OTAs and mini camps and continue that. So I thought it was huge getting him back through these doors.
Yeah, I think I always think of it when you talk about having that consistency. It's like watching a TV show. Like let's say Game of Thrones, for example. You have to wait a whole year for the next season to come around. And that's what you have if you have a new quarterback. Where if it's a movie, right, that movie is played out through one situation. And so to me, when you don't have to have a new offense, you don't have to learn your quarterback. You don't have to learn what they do best. You don't have to know. He knows everything here, and then you could implement other pieces to help really make him a better player if that's what we're talking about. Obviously, we'll get to that in a little bit. But getting that piece, that key piece, that cog to your engine, that starter, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be the most important thing because he touches the ball every play, right? Sean knows how he likes plays called. He knows how Sean likes them. So many times we've seen the back and forth of like, okay, I got it, I know what you want. If it's a new quarterback, that's a completely different deal, right? And then that pushes you back a little bit. And I think, DeMarco, you hit it right where you don't have to learn anything. Now it's just we're at week 7 now, right? We're working on week 7 stuff here in OTAs instead of day 1 install.
Given all that you said, though, I still think there's a lot of branches off this tree where the Rams can go offensively. You know what I mean by that? Like we've seen them play different styles of football with Matthew Stafford and with this reconstituted offense that we're going to talk more and more about over the course of this show. Could we see more drop back game? Sure. You can go back to that. Could we go to what you call the Bible?
That's where you got to go.
You could, don't have to.
Well, I feel like that's what we did. Not we, but that's what they did towards the end of the season.
Yep.
Right. We went back to, where 2017, 18, where the Rams were high flying, scoring points. And it really started against Seattle.
But I think we're on
11 personnel stuff. Yeah.
It was just a lot of run, play, action, pass, right? Making sure that you're having eye violations on the other side. Drop back pass, there's no eye violation.
I wouldn't mind letting him drop back and do his thing, depending on who I'm playing and how he's playing that day.
Yeah, and with
he's
the
feeling
targets you've assembled for him potentially this season.
Go,
Zooming out a bit, I think in the 4-year Stafford experience here, you've had 2 years where you won because of Matthew Stafford. The Super Bowl year, and then I think 23, which was sneakily one of his best seasons. You had 1 year where you didn't win at all because things went sideways and he was hurt in 22. And then last year felt like a winning with Matthew Stafford year. He wasn't as good, I don't think, performance-wise as 21 or 23, but he was still one of the 10 best quarterbacks walking the face of the earth.
Big moments, huge moments.
With big moments. And so I'm curious what the 25 edition of that looks like. And I appreciate the poise with which the Rams as an organization, just kind of the patient, sober mindset where they made their preference known that they're not willing or they don't want to close this chapter.
Right.
But if it has to go that way because of what they've done the last couple of off seasons, there is a future coming beyond Matthew Stafford that's going to be okay. Just like there is beyond Cooper Kupp.
I think when I think of what the Rams did, it reminds me of the Denver Broncos with John Elway late in his career, right? John could still throw the ball all around the yard, but he was old. Like, can't get hit. We don't need you taking these shots. We want you to be able to be Matthew Stafford in moments, in that Matthew Stafford moment. If there is a 3rd and 8 that we need you to get, like there was against, I forgot, it was a Buffalo where Tutu Atwell comes with, that is your moment. Shine. But you can't be the young gunslinger that you've always been because, 1, we don't want you taking those shots. And 2, this team is built completely differently. They're built to control the line of scrimmage. We're built to take over games. And then, like I said, in those moments when there's time to take shots, we'll take those shots and we'll show it. We just don't need it all the time.
I played that Denver buzzsaw.
Tough,
It
right?
wasn't about Elway. It was about that run game. And then when you finally have that sewed up, oh, yeah, that's Elway back there that can throw it a mile. So If you want to build that level of a run game, all for it. It's hard to stop. It's impossible to stop, especially when you got that guy, but easier said than done. So, but having him at quarterback, I think there's so many things you can do in your offense.
And everything we talk about from here on out is downstream of that decision point, right? Because the moment Matthew Stafford's coming back, the moment that Maurice Jones-Drew goes to work as Alaric Jackson's second agent, like what role do you play in this process?
I just feel like, just in the building, I just kind of like spew out little things and they stick to walls. So as they start walking by, it's like, Alaric Jackson needs to get paid. Yeah. What are we doing?
Did you put that out there?
I've said it a couple
times.
Okay,
yeah. Good.
Podcast.
Good. That's awesome.
I mean, I tell people all the time, and we were just talking about it beforehand, when you listen to his story in college, Tristan Wirfs, who's making all the money and all this, couldn't beat him out at left tackle.
Not at all.
Right? This guy was a top 5 pick, signed multiple deals, a staple in Tampa. Couldn't beat this young man out. And you get him as an undrafted rookie, like, okay, there's something there. We got to figure it out. And then you finally put him in. And we talked about it, JB, when he came back after a 2-game suspension, that was it. We didn't hear anything about left tackle anymore. The first couple games, it was like, whoa. Right? And I think that showed his worth to organization. Because if you go back to, was it 23? He was awesome. Like, he had played really well. And he was the one, but he blocked Myles Garrett one-on-one. Like, he's a guy that you don't need to help all the time, if that makes sense.
No, he's a good left tackle. He really is. And like I was thinking about this on the way over. You have been given a gift. You have been paid big money. Now you can just work on your craft. So this is just a personal thing I would tell to all young dudes. Don't buy anything. Buy the big house when you make all pro.
Right.
But right now you have been afforded the ability to just work on your game and not worry about whether I'm going to be here or not.
You used a couple of words there that I'm honing in on. Good. This isn't a paid to be good contract. This is a paid to be great contract.
Yes.
And all pro, right? Like
Correct.
Whether or not you get the actual Wikipedia recognition, not important to me, but can you step into that upper echelon? Because I like where the Rams are at left tackle, because there are going to be prospects drafted at the end of this cycle and at the end of April who are 23 and even 24 years of age. Alaric's going into his age 27 season with multiple years of starting experience in this system. And for system, I mean head coach, offensive coordinator, position room coaches. Like, I think that bodes really well. Now, I don't know if they make that investment if Matthew Stafford is not a Ram currently. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it was very much the next logical step once you committed to Stafford.
Yeah, I agree. You have to protect his blind side. We've seen this game, right? And I think that's, if you go back to week 1 and week 2, you've seen what Stafford, what he could be if he doesn't have a left tackle, which he was still making plays, but it was pretty much chaos. He felt so much more comfortable when Jackson got back at the left tackle spot that you could see, I saw personally, just him calm. He was much more calm in the pocket. I remember it might have been the Detroit Lions game week 1 where he dropped back and spun because he felt Hutchinson on him right away. Right? He couldn't even get back and look at he was already knowing the rush was coming. You can't play quarterback that way. So you get your quarterback, you get his protector. Now we can start to move on and fix other things.
Let's stay on the offensive line for what I think has the potential to be,
go ahead and say it,
the most impactful move the Rams make this offseason. And it's a subtle one. It's not a flashy one. From the first snap in Detroit until the last snap in Philadelphia, I think the Rams' inability to get the interior of their offensive line letter perfect cost them the chance to win week 1, cost them the chance to host the NFC Championship game. So while I think you have something really nice in Bo Limmer, I am not surprised, speaking only for myself, to see them bring back Coleman Shelton, because committing to Matthew Stafford, I think, means recommitting to getting that right pre and post snap in a way that maybe we didn't appreciate how much Coleman was doing.
No doubt. And as soon as I saw when Coleman Shelton was signed here, I went back and looked. I think he's made 47 starts in the last 3 seasons. I don't think he's coming here to back up. I think he's coming here to compete for a job. And I thought the word you were trying not to use was controversy. I don't mind that. Competition even works better. So if Limmer can hold on to the spot, great. That makes him a better center. If Shelton ascends to the number 1 spot, great. That's an experienced center with damn near 50 snaps, 50 starts in 3 years. That's only going to help your offense.
I think the biggest thing, and Jamie, we talked about it a little bit, was the communication.
That was the C word. Competition's a good one. But that's the other
Communication's
C
the other.
word I was
And-
thinking
and
of.
commu-
Or Carter.
or Carter, yeah. Well, I was gonna say, well, that's what you saw when you go back and
Yeah.
watch the Philadelphia Eagles game on that last drive. Carter wasn't blocked because
Yeah.
there was a lack of communication. You have the center looking to help left and the right guard looking to help right, and you got the guy that's been disrupting everything right between them, right? And so communicating and being on the same page as the offensive line, all those things are all about Matthew Stafford, right? Being able to set that pocket where he can step up in and see and make those throws, that's going to be important. And you saw, even though I thought Bo Limmer played lights out, I thought he did an awesome job and physically was there.
A rookie?
He
Absolutely.
But because he's a rookie, the communication was lacking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in the NFL, I've always, again, played with a bunch of coaches and coached by a bunch of guys. They all say the same thing. Communication is key.
Yeah.
If there is no communication, and that's in everything, relationships, life. If you can't communicate, there's no success that's going to happen.
No doubt.
And so you're going to get one of the better communicators at center in your system back.
A starter. Yeah.
I think probably the name in the early years of this era that we don't talk nearly enough about, John Sullivan.
Oh my God, Sully. Yeah, man. Until the legs gave out, he was great.
And then the Super Bowl season,
Yeah.
people don't remember, you kind of got a Pro Bowl season out of Brian Allen.
You did.
Yes.
And then again, like,
Shout out to BA. Yes, sir.
good things happen with Coleman Shelton in that place. So
What's the most important thing about Coleman Shelton?
he went to your
You
alma
dang right,
mater.
he's a Husky. Aha. There you go.
I didn't know. I just was like communication. He can
There you go.
communicate.
As great a football communicator as he is, he's a man of very few words, though.
That's
So
true.
he may not say it at the podium, but he'll say it
He
at
says
the
it
line
on
of
the field,
scrimmage.
yes.
Okay? I promise we're going to get to Davante Adams. Stand by.
Oh, yeah.
But if you check the tape from our season finale edition of Between the Horns, I forget what we called it, one of our closing thoughts was, if the ambition this offseason is to get faster and more explosive at the skill positions, then how can you let the fastest, most explosive skill player that you have get out of the building? And you know that we're all Tutu stands here on this set. Good to have Tutu Atwell back, because now that you see the vision, I don't think you can do it without someone of his explosiveness.
I just don't know how he's literally wide open all the time. Like, regardless of what goes on, the fact that every time Stafford throws in the ball, there's 5 yards or more in between him and the next defender tells me he should have been here.
And I get the criticism or the caution. Will they use him? Will they
That's
use
the
him?
criticism. Yeah.
I think this contract says they're planning to use him.
It's always weird defending Tutu, because you would think that he can't play. He can play.
Yeah.
He's a really good receiver. They just didn't use him a lot. I think that might change now. When you guys look up receiver stats, what numbers do you look at? Touchdowns would be number one. Yards
Per
what about
route run.
What about yards per catch?
Sure.
He's up over 13.
Yep.
I mean, that's Jamar Chase. Amon St. Brown is at 10.
And that's not baking in the pass interference penalties that he draws. Otherwise,
Right.
that number would be inflated.
He can play. So I hope, like I said, Tutu stays healthy. He did last year. I think there were 2 receivers that were healthy for all 17. He was one of them, including the playoff game. So tough as nails. I hope he gets used in a way that he could show off that speed.
I still think they were trying to figure out how to utilize him
Mm-hmm.
too, because you started seeing him at motions, but towards the end of the season, he started running dig routes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did everything. And so to me, when I think it's hard when you have Cooper Kupp, who runs a lot of the intermediate routes, and then you only put him in a position to say, hey, you're going to be the deep guy, but also DeMarcus Robinson's going to be that guy too. And also Puka's going to have his deep shots too. So your reps are going to come down. Now you're kind of being positioned to be able to do everything again, with obviously the addition of the next guy we'll talk about.
All right, go ahead. You talk about him first.
Yeah, I think Davante Adams is the creme de la creme of release game.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the issues that the Rams have had is getting off of press and getting off of releases as of late. It wasn't like younger years, you had the motions and guys were finding ways. But now you have an X receiver in the tight red zone where you can say, here, run a slant or run a fade.
Right.
Or here, we can put you in a slot and you can run that option route and break out, and we can have a guy. You could do so much more with him because of his releases and how physical he is as a wide receiver. And then he still has the ability to stretch the field if you need him to get 1A, 1B type of receivers. And again, people are going to say, well, Cooper Kupp, and you're right, but I think Cooper Kupp's ability to not be available over the last couple of seasons has hurt him, where Davante Adams has been available over the last couple of seasons.
Wow. If you're trying to compare the two, I'd say Davante Adams is more dynamic than Cooper. I don't know. I mean, that's hard. I don't even want to go there. But
The guy's a future Hall of Famer. We don't have to play the comparison
I'm
game.
but
to
I'm
just
with
say
you.
that cleanly.
He presents too many unanswered questions in press coverage because I haven't seen anybody jam him off the line yet. And I talked to him on the radio, and I didn't know he was a basketball player. So all this stuff that we're seeing is point guard stuff. I'm like, oh, that's why it looks so familiar. That's why he gets so open. But when I started thinking about him, I started thinking about the red zone and how many times the Rams actually attack that back pylon. I think that might change now with Davante Adams. There's so many options with him in the open field from 20 to 20 and 20 in. That's going to make you a better offense.
I've already heard this is the closest the Rams have had to since OBJ got it figured out in the second half of that season, right? I could see some of that.
Big time.
But the name that came to mind for me is this is the closest thing they've had since Sammy Watkins' year because of the words that you mentioned, which were red zone.
Yeah.
I think the way they operated with Sammy Watkins, I'm not saying they're going to use the same blueprint, but I think you could get the same efficiency on short fields that you had, because that to me was what Sammy Watkins did best. I think he had 8 touchdowns that year.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins
Double slant.
had like the courage of all 1,000 men facing gun, because like he would run right in the middle of it and just catch the ball and
big strong.
And then
hands.
even though throwing the fade ball is no longer in vogue, it's not like a high percentage football play. If you were to come up with a short list of guys to whom it's worth throwing fade balls, this guy's on that list.
And I also think this, JB, when you get inside the 5, there's only so many routes that you can run. Right, it's either crossing routes on the front of the goal line or back in line. But if I could put everybody to one side and Davante one-on-one and not see a safety there and say, here, would I offer the leverage that he's playing you
better have an
run your
all-pro.
route.
Yeah, you better have an all-pro
You
corner.
should have a chance to win that one.
In our time together, we've seen some great trios in that huddle. I think for me, Kupp, Woods, Cooks was like the best that had ever fit together. But if you're going to have to be able to run with Tutu, stick to Davante Adams, and tackle Puka 10 to 12 times per game,
I'll take
there's
that.
a good luck element to that. And I wonder what your coverage options are as a defense if that's how the Rams break the huddle.
You better have a Pro Bowler somewhere. Yeah, you're going one-on-one with somebody.
Well, I think. Look, there's two things. It's two ways to slice it. Either you're going to play coverage and let Stafford sit back there, so you better have a tremendous pass rush, right? You're going to play cover 2 zone, and he's going to find the soft areas and hit guys in the soft areas of the zone, or you're going to play man.
Somebody's
and then they're
going to
get ran off. They're going to run crossing routes. It's going to make adding these pieces forces the game for Sean McVay to be so much more simple in the passing game. It doesn't have to be design all this stuff. It's going, okay, is it man or zone? If it's man, we're going to do this. If it's zone, we're going to do that.
With a QB that can get it there.
Yeah.
With velocity. Yes.
What's it mean for Jay Witt? Have you thought at all about year 2 for him, given the company he's keeping
I think
now?
he's got a good role, don't you?
I think he has a great role.
Teams, part-time receiver.
I think he's Puka.
Yeah.
He's Puka number 2.
Yeah.
Right. So he'll come in.
The better he does, the more receptions he gets, the more targets he gets. But yeah, he's got a role.
It doesn't change my appetite for another pass catcher in this draft class, perhaps as early as 26. Does that change anything for you?
Would never say no.
I don't. 26 is a tough place to pick. It's not like 32 or it's not like 20.
Okay, fair.
Right? Like
save that for later.
Yeah.
But like,
it's just tough.
You would not be surprised. I'm not surprised if the Rams fortify that room. Maybe
I would be surprised.
You would?
If they went and drafted a receiver one, I would be
one
surprised.
drops?
at 1.
Yeah.
At 1, yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying at 1, although Tetero McMillan's 4.5 40
Yeah.
did have me thinking.
If T-Mac falls that, Lord
There
have
you go.
mercy. Then I'm gonna run it up to hand it to him.
Sorry, DeMarco. We made you sit through all this discussion. I know the player that you want to talk about because I think I texted you as soon as the Poona Ford contract
Big Poona. Yeah, man.
was finalized that I celebrated on behalf of Kobe Turner. Am I wrong to be thinking along those lines?
It depends on how he likes playing the 5. Or which guy do you have playing the 5? Because I would have Fisk at the 3 because he's a good pass rusher.
Right.
So you got to put Kobe somewhere. So that would be the Michael Brocker's 5 spot. Tough against the run, straighten out against the pass, and be active. But with all due respect, and I have to respect the position more than the players and the name on the back of the jersey, Poona Ford is an upgrade at nose tackle. Yeah. He really is. So there's 3 ways you could judge good nose tackles. You could look at his tackle stats. If he's got 66 tackles, he's obviously making plays. If he's got 44, look behind him. If the guys behind him are up over 100, that means he's doing his job. Another way is when you see that guy shaded over the center to the right side or the left side, especially snap hand, if that guy doesn't get cut off 90% of the time, he's a damn good nose tackle. When you watch Poona Ford, it never happens. He breaks down and diagnoses blocks like that. He will absolutely destroy your run game. For the first 6 or 7 weeks of this year, of last season, when he was in a Chargers uniform, I don't think they had a run that broke for over 20 yards, all because of what he was doing in the middle. This is a definite upgrade for this entire defense. It will get you to obvious passing downs faster, which is good. It sets you up for Verse, Fisk, and Kobe Turner. This is an upgrade on defense.
So you say that. I just remember going to Seattle and him just destroying the interior of the line. Like, okay, so why can't we find this guy? And I thought last year the Rams would try to make a play for him, but it didn't happen. And so it's all good. But to get him in the middle, I believe you're exactly right. And I thought Bobby Brown did a really good job, and he showed up big in moments. There's more consistency with Poona Ford. And I think because of his stature, it's going to be harder for O-linemen to get after. I played with a guy by the name of Roy Miller out of University of Texas. Roy was like 5'11", 335 pounds, very similar to Poona Ford. And he was like, I can beat every center that's over 6 foot. Like, if you're 6'3", I'll get under you automatically. It's the little centers that give me the problems. And there's not many of those guys in the game today. There's not going to be many centers like Brian Allen that we had here that are shorter, squattier guys. And so that's where you're going to dominate. And he'll be able to two-gap. He gets sacks out of that
Whatever
position.
you want.
Whatever you want, he can do it all.
He is
and
perfect
he has the
size.
nasty.
Yes, perfect size for a nose tackle. You got to come down there to block him.
And you look at the competition within the division. These are not finalized rosters in Seattle or San Francisco, I get it. But there are some deficiencies across the NFC West on the interior of the offensive line right now, and I think that's an area we'll see those opponents address sooner rather than later. But it's nice to feel that you've got an advantage in the trenches going up against the opponents that you're going to play twice per year.
And we mentioned Coleman Shelton and what happened in that playoff game. And what else happened in that playoff game? Saquon got out about 4 or 5 times in both games. So sew that up, and like you said, force them to throw. You've got guys that can get there.
I'm not surprised to hear you say that whoever's playing off-ball linebacker behind him is a winner in this signing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it depends on who that guy is. But, I mean, he is going to take up 2. He is not going to be out of his gap. And he makes everybody better. That's the thing that I like most about him coming out of the chart. Everywhere he's been, every coach raves about him making other people better. So that could be the guys behind or the guys lining up right next to him.
You know, continuing the theme, I think the Rams doing a very targeted, efficient job at addressing what you would qualify as needs before the draft, puts them in a great position turning towards the spring. And I think that puzzle was completed this week with Ahkello Witherspoon back from more at corner, because when you look at the cards that the Rams can play off that deck at that spot, Ahkello, Darius, Kobe, Darion Kendrick coming back healthy. Saw him today at the facility. A couple of rookies they like in Josh Wallace and Charles Woods. And do not forget about a former number 1 pick in Emmanuel Forbes, who they threw a dart with in the middle of last season. And they'll almost certainly layer into that group. I get it. But you could do worse going into OTAs than that group returning at corner.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if Ahkello Witherspoon was like drinking acid and eating razor blades last year, but he became a physical player.
Yeah.
And that physicality really took his game to the next level. I thought Darius Williams going there, just being a guy where he's supposed to be all the time. That interception against the Niners is still that game. That is what you get from Darius. He's always going to be where he's supposed to be, and he'll gamble and take a chance when he knows it's there and it's right, but he's always where he's supposed to be. And when you have 2 corners that can do that, you can then allow other guys to fill in. Kobe Durant comes in and becomes this, that playoff game crazy, like, interceptions and getting sacks. And it just, the way they play together. And if you do add to that, there's already competition in this room. If you do add to that, it's only going to make it better. And I only think that secondary works because of what you did with the defensive line, though.
Oh, no doubt. But it's funny when you see players, and I talked a lot about Ahkello, and when you see the light come on physically, you can see it, how the game just slows down and he gets more and more confident. Like, I can make this play. I can step in front. It's not luck. He's actually saw it. He made the play. So, but I wouldn't be shy about adding talent to that room at all. Especially if I could add premium talent to that room, so be it. In my opinion, you can never have enough good corners.
Oh, that's a position where any chance you get to add premium talent. But I think you can take it with an eye towards contributing in 25, starting in 26, differently than if you didn't have Ahkello Witherspoon back.
No doubt.
Or if you didn't have a Poona Ford signed in free agency, you might have to operate differently come April. Even Nate Landman signing this week. Special teams depth, perhaps. Linebacker depth for sure. Played in a adjacent system in Atlanta. I think another shrewd move.
Tackling machine, underrated coverage ability, generates takeaways. And Ronnie Rivers back as well. Speaking of special teams depth and another running back option. All right, want to talk some draft?
Let's go.
How have the last few weeks shaped your thinking about what the Rams are going to attempt to do in a month's time?
I've been looking at inside linebackers.
Okay.
Is that fair?
At what round?
Any round. I'm just looking at the depth of field of inside linebackers and adding some quickness and some speed there. I mean, when you look at the roster, I mean, I know you mentioned tight ends, right? And
if I haven't yet, I'll say it now.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
No.
Well, yeah, but when you look at the roster the way it is now, I guess the biggest hole would be at inside linebacker. You could add more talent there. So that's what I've been looking at. Outside of corners, I don't think you need pass rushers. Running back, you might be set. Quarterback, receiver, maybe. So definitely looking on the defensive side and at linebacker.
You always can add pass rushers.
Yeah.
Always. Like, to me, at the position, I look at it as what I would do. Whatever I do at 26 determines what the rest of this draft is going to be. If there is a dominant or a pass rusher that I feel comfortable with, I'm going to take him because I have space for a guy like that where Michael Hoyt left.
Yeah.
I can implement him there, right?
Or pass protection.
Or tackle, right?
Yeah.
I think you need another tackle to go in and be able to work behind Havenstein as he gets going and he gets older. You want to have his replacement there. And you always want to build in the trenches. I think then you look to off-ball linebacker, maybe 4th or 5th round later. Just guys, again, athletic guys that can run because we don't need a guy that's going to be a traditional 3-4, hit the guard, but the guard up. You have those guys taking up in front. I need guys that can cover and run. Tight end is always there. But see, the problem with me is tight end's a position. If you don't have the top 2 guys, you can wait, right? And that's very different from pass rusher, right? Because I think pass rusher, you want those top guys because it's a big difference between the other guys, right? And so, and I still think, you're looking for a running back. I'm still want to add to that running back room. I want to continue to add to that.
You've done your homework. This is reputed as a great running back draft on all 3 days. How's it shake out in your estimation?
It's there's a lot of guys that fit the system that we run. There's a lot of guys that fit the outside zone system that you see in San Francisco, you'll see in Seattle. Those guys, I think you could get those guys. To me, this is a draft of, there's probably 7 guys that I could say are day 1, day 2 guys that can fit most systems. There's 4 that can fit every system. That would, if you're a running back away like a Philly was last year, if you feel like, we just need a running game, there's 3 dudes in this draft that can be that guy for you.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, at least 3.
Because of what the Rams have done in recent weeks, I don't think there's a position group that would surprise me, come that last weekend in April. In terms of the day 1 opportunity, I tend to think because of the premium value, you got to go for a premium position there, and that means pass throwers, pass catchers, pass rushers, or pass defenders. Those are typically the 4 categories that I look for in a first-round pick. But I love the time on task for this group, right? Front office, coaching staff, because I think last year was really informative. Were any of us sitting here 12 months ago saying they got to have Jared Verse? If there's any path to Jared Verse, they got to take it. I don't think so.
I was saying Latu.
I was saying the other guy. Yeah,
I was saying Latu.
Yeah.
So.
But then 6 quarterbacks go and 14 straight offensive players go. And next thing you know, you're sitting there like drafting in your top 5 in terms of your defensive board. And you end up with not just 1 defensive rookie of the year, but 2 for all intents and purposes. I don't know that same formula is going to work this year, but I do think there's a privilege to being patient that, who knows, like maybe at 26, the quarterbacks that someone's interested in is still there.
That would surprise me.
And a quarterback needy team that doesn't want to sleep on Thursday night without knowing who their next option is picks up the phone. Like, that would be ideal, because to me, the gap, I think it's like 60 picks between 26 and 90. That's too much. That's too much for my liking to not have a second rounder.
Wow. Which quarterback may slip to 26?
Dart. You know what's funny? It reminds me of what Baltimore did with Lamar Jackson that year.
Yeah.
All those quarterbacks went and Lamar was still sitting there, and then Baltimore creeps up and goes and gets him.
Wound up being better than all of them.
Yeah, you could see that as well. You could see that ability happening. Man, that is a lot of picks.
That's
though.
a lot of picks. A lot of players off the board. I think the only thing that would surprise me is if you draft a punter, but no, that's different.
It is nice going into your offseason feeling like you know who your specialists are. That's a good feeling. Do you guys mind taking a quick lap around the NFC West?
Let's go.
Because obviously you're kind of watching the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals go through their offseason.
Hold on. Did you see Ethan Evans squat on video? Did you?
No, I didn't see
Did
it.
you? Did you?
I saw
Did you
a
see
shot.
that?
I did. I thought he was told to stop doing that.
That's the punter.
How much
sorry.
was he squatting?
Like 700 pounds.
That's too much.
That's
That's too much.
ridiculous. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Pick a team. You want Niners, Seahawks, Cardinals? Where do you want to
Let's
start?
go Niners first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the window closed? It might be.
You got to pay your quarterback now.
Yeah.
It's all fun and games.
The
until you gotta
economics
pay
of
the man.
football. Yes,
Yeah.
I know. It's
How
crazy.
about the purging of this Super Bowl roster? Debo, Banks, Hargrave, Floyd, Greenlaw, Ward, Funga, even Mason.
You think I'm going to cry?
There's rumors up there that Ayuk may be on the trade block still.
Okay.
I don't know though. Don't forget the fourth place schedule.
That's the thing. The fourth
Okay.
place is. I mean, I saw that. Wow.
I mean, they play the Giants, Bears, Browns instead of Eagles, Lions, Ravens. Just in terms of apples to apples, that's
Schedule aside.
And pick number 11.
Yeah. Happy some of those Ram killers are gone.
Man, their O-line is
Yes.
dismantled.
Big time. Yes. Good. I don't know how to say it, but good.
I will
Yes.
say this: the biggest one that I was so happy about, and I'm in the Bears, all my friends and everyone's Niner fans.
Debo?
No,
Oh.
I love to keep Debo.
Oh.
Greenlaw's not around.
Oh, yeah.
My
Yeah.
goodness, when he came back on that Thursday night, he had about 700 tackles in the
Mm.
first 7. Like it was like he was tackling everybody.
Warner and Greenlaw are dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with
yeah.
Warner.
Yeah. But both
Greenlaw,
of them together.
Yeah, Greenlaw
Yeah.
was. Remember, it was like he made every tackle for like 20 plays in a row. It was like, okay,
in the first half.
Yeah, it was like
Yes.
this guy. We can't have this guy out here
No.
anymore. So
Let me jump to the Cardinals. Signed Josh Sweat as kind of the Eagles makeover in the desert continues. Dalvin Tomlinson fortifying their interior, LJ Collier, and I think pick 16 as well to go with it.
Mm.
And money still to spend. Why are you cringing?
they're building something down there. I don't know what it is. They fixed last year with the 3 tight ends and the physicality on offense, and they kind of started figuring something out. Then defensively, Dalvin Tomlinson scares me because that is a big
Should.
man in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are building what you had in Philly, you build it on the inside. You build literally from the inside out. You get 2 defensive tackles that have to take up double teams so your edge guys can just go. That's all they want to do.
Sweat is one of the best edge guys out there. Best edge guy they've had since Chandler Jones. I think that might have been
Or the guy that we played in week 2.
Oh well,
Yeah,
Gardeck.
he went crazy.
That's because Jackson wasn't there. But yeah, I mean, he might be their best edge guy in years. So always a problem. The only thing that you can't predict about Arizona is their quarterback. If you catch Kyler when he's on one, he's almost unstoppable.
Mhm.
But the problem is the bad Kyler shows up every now
Or
and
when Call of Duty's not on.
then. Right.
Double time.
Yeah.
See, you've got the gaming creds to say stuff.
I've just heard.
Yeah.
I just heard rumors.
And then I know we touched on the Seahawks a little bit, but just to circle back again, in isolation, can I understand going from Geno to Darnold, especially given the offensive system change, the pick comp,
the money.
the money?
The money.
Sure,
Yeah.
I
The
get
money's huge.
it. Can you
Difference
make?
in
Can
money.
you?
Yeah.
Can you make the case that DK isn't worth top 3 or 4 wide receiver money? Sure, I get that.
Mm.
But did the Seahawks get better so far this offseason? I think that's a difficult case to make.
I don't
don't
know
think
if they,
so.
I don't know
Yeah.
if they got better or not.
You're losing a lot of talent.
You're losing a lot of talent, but you're also losing. When they fired their OC, I knew that whole thing was going to change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, and you have to now build for whatever this OC wants. The only part about it is, you know how it is in Seattle. Like it's cold, wet. That run game when Seattle's been at their best, and to hear them talk about this, and I don't know if you guys heard, they felt like they lost their home field advantage in Seattle. When was Seattle always? That was when you were handing the ball to Marshawn Lynch.
And playing
They had
defense.
a crazy defense, and that's what they're trying to get back to. So maybe they have gotten better, right?
We'll
just
see.
without
Yeah.
just because they're switching up their mentality.
Or getting back to their identity. You know what
Yeah.
I thought? It seems like they are sweeping the last of the Pete Carroll guys out the door. And this is an entirely new thing we're doing here. And it makes sense. You want to put your own stamp on this football team. So Did they get better or worse? We're going to see.
And lo and behold, Pete's back to
Right.
receive at least one of those getting
No
swept
doubt.
out.
Yes.
I had one other early thought on the NFC that I just wanted to kind of plant this seed because I have a feeling it's going to be a theme when we start to get together next fall. I got 3 teams that need to improve for the good of the Rams. And you might not expect to hear these. I got the New York Giants, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Chicago Bears. Here's why. The NFC East crosses over with the NFC North, and those divisions produced 5 of the 7 playoff teams last year. So I need the Giants and the Bears to take a game off the Niners. I need the Cowboys to not let the Eagles and the Lions and the Packers and Vikings win 14
Bears
plus
might
games.
be okay.
The Bears going to be okay.
Bears might
That's
be
why
okay.
when I think they've taken a nice step.
I think they've done a great job. Again, a lot of teams are building that center guard area. They did an awesome job of doing that. And then you're going to probably add another running back, which rumor is Genty in the first round.
Yeah.
You get that. Now you have your 2-headed monster. You have your receivers on the outside.
I've asked this before. Give me your greatest Chicago Bear quarterback. Everybody goes
Jay
back
Cutler.
to before or after. Maybe Cutler, maybe McMahon. That is a meat grinder for quarterbacks.
It is.
It is. It's cold. That place is built to run the football and play defense. Anything outside of that, I think you're whistling Dixie. But we'll see. We'll see.
Just saying, the Giants, Cowboys, and Bears taking a step forward in terms of the Rams' competition in the NFC this year could be critically important.
Come on, Cowboys.
I understand the Cowboys. Giants, I just right. What
you don't know who their quarterback's going to be yet, so
they don't have a quarterback. They've given everyone else their top player. Like the Eagles got another guy just went from the Giants to the Eagles.
Yeah.
That can rush the quarterback. It's just like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. Just go to Philly. We'll worry about it later.
I know a quarterback that was in New York. Looking for
still
a
got
job.
a place
Looking
there.
for a job. Just saying. Yeah.
I mean, you plug him in to that offense, you could do worse.
You're instantly better. I don't know how
Aaron
good you're going to be,
Rodgers?
but you're better. Yeah.
He's not gonna.
No.
He can't make it there. They can't protect him.
Yeah.
He has to. The best place that I know is a little off. Best place for him to go is Pittsburgh because they have an offensive line in front. They have those 2 guys on the outside. He'll be happy.
Just no media.
Well, there's no media in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Think about that.
No home studio. You're just a quarterback now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Here's to year 10. I
Yes,
know
sir.
last year was your 25th anniversary, which was
Gosh.
awesome to celebrate
What you
throughout
mean,
the
gosh,
year.
40? What are you talking about?
That's what I'm saying.
40-year-old?
Of the
Man,
Super
leave me
Bowl, not
alone.
just of
Oh,
your tenure
okay.
with the Rams, but
Yeah.
of the championship.
Yeah.
And here's to year 10 together. Love
Yes.
you guys.
I
Great
love
to be
you
back
guys.
Love you,
together.
man.
Awesome.
Let's go.
We love you guys.
Love you. Yes.
It is nice to be back. Thank you for your patience with us this offseason and for spending some time as we get our mind locked back in for 2025 Rams football. Maurice Jones-Drew, DeMarco Farr, JB Long. Between the Horns, always presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers.
40-year-old Maurice Jones-Drew.
That's right.
Next time we see them.